Is not Wednesday. No, it is not. It is not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's Thursday. And you know what that means? The delayed version of the Ask Steve show from Queen Valley Mule Ranch is here on YouTube and Facebook for you. My name is Dave Shrine, and I'm here with Steve Edwards. And every week, we get together to talk mules and donkeys, and I'm just going to admit it. I had something come up yesterday that I had to attend to, and I messaged Steve. I said, hey, Steve, can we move this to Thursday? I had something come up. I've got to do it. Steve says, yes, let's make it happen on Thursday. Originally, we were going to try to do it live on Thursday, so you are actually watching a pre-recorded version. Why is that? Well, because life is busy, and there are things going on. But one thing that we want to make sure you're able to do today, tomorrow, this weekend is get out there, get results with your animals. And that's why we do this show on YouTube and Facebook every week. So like I said, my name's Dave and Steve Edwards. How have things been on the ranch since we last spoke?
Been pretty busy. We had some rain and stuff, and I'm getting ready for the clinic. So, we got some weeds that's got to be taken care of. And I was just working on some water lines that there's always something to do, by golly. And today I got to go into town. I hate going into town, but I just hate it. So, but I got an eye appointment. My wife's got an eye appointment. You know how it goes, just daily life.
It's the way it goes. It don't let up either.
No, my calendar don't have numbers on it. It has lots of, you got this to do today. I'm supposed to be retired.
I'm supposed to be retired. Well, I guess, the needs of the human body do not let up. And I've heard that needs get a little bit more frequent as you get older. Of course, I'm reaching 40. And so I turned 40 this year. And I can tell you the needs of my human body have increased. So I guess that just kind of happens. But hey, we're going to talk about the needs of the mule and donkey owner today. And so if this is your first time watching, there are really only three things that we ask. The first is that you let us know your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like. And even though we are pre-recording this, so this is Thursday morning, and you're seeing this a few hours later in the afternoon, early evening, we still want to know that you're here, because guess what? I am actually going to be following along in the comment section when this airs live a little bit later on today. So I'd like to know that you're here, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. The second thing we ask is that you ask any and every mule and donkey question that you have. Now, this one's a little bit different because we're pre-recording it. So if you do ask any questions today, I'm going to see them in the comment section, and we will save those for next week. Today, I've got some questions that have come in via email, some questions that have been on YouTube and Facebook, and we're going to be talking about those. And then the third thing that we ask is that you share this video with your friends and family. If you're on YouTube, the way you make that happen is by clicking the thumbs up button. That will let the YouTube people know that this is worth recommending. And if you're on, and subscribe to the channel too, because that's always going to be great. If you're on Facebook, you can click the share button, and it will share it onto your page, or you can just go ahead and tag friends and family members in the comment section, and they will know that you're watching. So, Steve, I had a comment come in on YouTube a little bit earlier this week, and there's no question, there's no inquiry, it's just a statement. And so I figured it might be a little bit of fun to just hear what you have to say about this, and maybe if you felt this way. Dusty was watching yesterday. He was watching our broadcast from a week before this one, and he says, I have a 7-month-old mare mule, and she hates me. And I couldn't help but think when I saw that there's probably a lot of people, and maybe even you, Steve, who thought at some point in time, this mule hates me, ain't going to do anything for me. I don't know if it's even worth continuing on. So I figured I'd give you just a chance to talk to Dusty, and maybe anybody else who's watching today who feels like this animal hates me. I don't know if it's even worth it. What would you have to say to Dusty and others like him?
Well, Dusty, I can tell you, I know the feeling well. It took me a long time to kind of figure out how to get around some of this. Now, Dave, did he raise this mule or just buy it at 7 months old?
It doesn't say. He just said, I can feel the tension in Dusty's comment, just she hates me. So he doesn't give much more information.
Yeah, it's tough, folks. I did in Pierce College in LA when I was teaching classes there. I taught a class on raising babies and stuff. And here's the thing, folks. It's just like anything else. We have personality clashes. It can happen really quick. You can also have a mule that has sorry parents and end up with a sorry mule. But I've also seen really good parents have some really sorry mules as well. You don't know. When you're raising a baby, it's a toss up. It really is. And so, what's this mule doing? Is it pinning its ears? Is it trying to bite you? Is it trying to kick you? What makes you think that this mule is not liking being around you? All right, now let me keep on going with a little story here. Uh, One of my students at Pierce College had a really nice mare, had bred to a really nice jack, and she was looking forward to a mule. And during the class, one of the things I said was, folks, when you're taking a tremendous step, a leap of faith when you go to raise a baby, let alone start one from a colt, from like a 3-year-old and go on from there. But here's the problem. Your disposition and the disposition of that baby may not work. That's why you kind of like to get a little bit older mule, not just a reason for it's got a been there, done that attitude, but it does this mule say, I like you, I want to spend time with you. Now, it's a difference between a baby that just says, nah, ain't gonna do it, you ain't gonna make me do it, yada yada, between one and or one that just flat says, I don't like you at all, get out of my sight. Now, does this mule, here's a question, number one, did you raise it from a baby? All right. Number two, did does the mule get along with other people, like your wife or one of the kids or something like that? So I need to know about that. The number three here, what's the key thing? Is the mule trying to bite you, trying to attack you in some way, so that you're thinking the mule doesn't like you, or is it just because you're just not getting anywhere in your foundational training? So you have 4 questions there, Dave.
Awesome. Yeah. And you know what? One of the things that I've noticed from doing this show for the last three, I don't know, maybe we're going on 4 years, over 100 episodes, let's just say that. One of the things that I've noticed is that uh, most, I shouldn't say most, a lot of the problems that we encounter and a lot of the people who come just feeling like, I don't know what to do, she won't listen to me, anything that I do doesn't seem to work. I've been watching your videos, Steve, and I tried and it's not working. Well, a lot of times it just takes a little bit of back and forth and getting that extra information to Steve so that we can answer it. And folks get out there. And I'll tell you what, with the come along rope, in just about every single one of these instances, with the come along rope and then a little bit of additional knowledge, you're able to start getting results in the direction you want. You're maybe not able to progress as fast as you would like, but you're able to start getting directions. And it's just that door opening and showing the sunshine just a little bit that lets you know, hey, maybe this is going to be worth it. So thanks, Dusty, for taking the time to watch and just share a little bit and get back to us. Let us know a little bit of more information based upon what Steve was asking there, and hopefully that'll work out for you. I got a question from Tamra here. Tamra says, I'm a first-time mule owner. I have owned horses, but never felt like I really connected with them. I have donks, and I love them to death, but do not ride them. I've always wanted to try a mule, and I finally get the chance. I get to pick up my new Molly this weekend. I have no clue even where to start or what order first. I am a teacher and a mother to a toddler. I need this to stay sane. I need this to stay sane for an outlet. I am super excited for this journey, but I'm kind of running in circles. Help me, help me, help me. What
Yeah.
would you say to Tamra, who is familiar with horses, familiar with donkeys, but about to start working with a mule for the first time, Steve?
Well, as I tell everybody, Dave, groundwork, 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 period. You know, folks, I can tell you that sometimes that groundwork can go just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and just be picture perfect. But there's other times you're going to have bumps in the road. So what I'm going to say to her is is the ground communication kit. And by the way, Dave, we're going to have some halters, I'm thinking, tomorrow, so we can see how that goes.
Good.
But start with the ground. Folks, it's not important to ride. I don't care if you did ride it in another state and then brought it back home, and you're thinking, I want to ride. And I understand. But get a chance to build a foundation of trust with this mule. Yes, that mule was doing just fine there in whatever state you got it from. But now you got it home. Now you got a whole new place, a whole new life. They have to get used to you. They have to get used to new smells, new areas. And just because they look good on the video, or just because they look good when you went and got them, does not mean it's going to be that way when you get home. Okay. You're going to have a completely different meal. Start with groundwork, start to watch the video. Folks, it's not just the halter. Please don't use that halter for training when it comes to ground communication. Don't do that. It's mainly meant, my purpose is it to be put in a surcingle to be used. And then the second part is on a rare time to tie one up in order to be able to saddle, groom, or whatever. I personally would just tell you to just use the come-along hitch all the time. At this clinic here that's coming up here in 2 weeks, you're going to see me using the come-along hitch exclusively, okay? And you're going to see why I tell some people, don't get in the saddle. Why are you going in the saddle, okay? So ground communication kit, and think about that toddler. That toddler needs a mom, so don't get yourself hurt. It's going to be kind of tough. So, yes, I understand the need to outlet. Dave understands that. He's got 3 kids. My 2 are gone, but they still, your kids are always still your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is I couldn't help but laugh because, I work full time, but my wife is a stay-at-home mom, and we're super grateful. She's super grateful for it. We are a little bit past the toddler stage. I've got a 9-year-old who's about to turn 10, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So in the fall, all 3 of my boys will be in all-day school. So Stephen goes to preschool a couple days a week, but in the fall, all 3 of them will be in all-day school. So we're getting out of that phase, but there's still plenty of days where I come home and Sandra's like, I need to talk to an adult. Like, I need to not have runny nose all over me and getting yelled at and mommy, where is this at? So I completely get it, and it is important to have those outlets, and so I'm really grateful to hear that you've got the mule, Tamra, and anything we can do for you, we're here for you, or hopefully we're here for you, and just come on back when you get more questions. Ground foundation starting work, absolutely. Get the come along rope. And it comes with a video if you buy the ground foundation starting kit, and that's where you need to start. And just don't feel like you got to rush. If you can't control on the ground, there's no way you're ever going to be able to control in the saddle. It's never going to be safe, but you can be safer by doing all of that work up front on the ground and then knowing how to communicate to the animal, both on the ground and in the saddle. So great question. So glad to have it come from you. And let me know what we can do. Virginia sent in some questions. Of course, Virginia watches with us just about every week. And so she sent in 3 questions, and I'm really grateful for that because that gives us good stuff to talk about here. She says, hi, Steve and Dave, 3 questions for you. Edie, my Molly, has developed a small seroma under her chin between the jaw bones right where the come-along hitch sits. I had the vet check it out, and although it doesn't appear to be anything serious, he thinks it might be a training blister due to my come-along hitch work, which I have been doing about 20 minutes every day. Have you ever had that happen? Should I switch to the rope halter until the seroma dissolves? So she's got 3 questions, so let's answer this one first. What's a seroma, Steve? And then should we be concerned about that as far as the come-along rope?
Well, I've never heard the terminology seroma. I can tell you this, that if the mule's missing some hair, it's because the mule wasn't paying attention. Folks, you're going to scratch these mules. Ain't no big deal. Now, there is a thing called a sarcoid, which is a natural thing that happens with colts. It's kind of a wart-looking thing. But seroma, I'm not familiar with that term at all. So we'll have to figure some way to figure out what that is. But folks, go back to this. It's impossible not to put a scar on your mule. It's impossible not to skin him some way. Impossible. Yes, it's not. It's going to happen. You're going to get a britching burn. You're going to get a cinch burn. You're going to get a bridle burn. It's all possible. Okay. Do not go to the halter, folks. That halter is going to do nothing but give you problems. If you can't control them with the halter, then with the come along hitch, you sure ain't going to control them with the halter. Now, here's the deal. Let's go back to this. We're going to be, and when we're building a foundation, okay, a foundation, 3, 6, 9, 12. So we have to keep that in mind. One of the downsides, Dave, is we overdo it. We tend to say, oh, we did really good, some backups. Let's do 10 more, 20 more. No. 3 today, 3 the next day, add 3 more 6, then add 3 more 9, then add for the 12. That builds a foundation. So I want to build a foundation of loading in a trailer. I'm going to do 3 today, 6 the next time, 9 the next time, 12 the next time of loading in the trailer. That's a foundation. I'm going to cross over a bridge, 3, 6, 9, 12. That's a foundation. Do you understand that? That's what needs to get done. After you build a foundation of 12, then go mix and match. Go do other things. But training every day is part of life. It's really, you're never going to finish training, okay? When I go up the side of a mountain, I am kind of training, telling that mule's feet which way to go, yada, yada. So don't worry about a scar. No big deal. You'll be doing fine.
All right. The next question that Virginia had is, Edie has been rubbing the hair and skin off of her eyebrows. The vet attributed it to allergies and suggested using an omega-3 supplement like platinum. What do you think?
Well, it's not unusual for mules to have an allergy situation, especially the time of year when flies start coming around. Put a fly mask on them, folks. The best thing you can do for these animals is to put a fly mask on them. They don't need to have the ear fly mask. They just need a fly mask. Leave the hair inside the mule's ears alone. Leave it go, okay? Just kind of pinch the ear together and cut it out so that it's smooth, so that God's way of keeping bugs and dirt out of the ears is those hairs. Leave them alone, okay? So, yes, you could do that. I personally, I've used a little bit of axle grease. I've used a little bit of baking grease. But otherwise, just put a good fly mask on and call it good. Now, one of the places you're going to have is you're going to have it on the chest and all around the legs and this sort of thing. Now, I can tell you that here just a couple of weeks ago, one of my clients was feeding some really poor hay, and he ended up with some of that same problems, and it was for the bad hay that he was feeding. So, folks, always consider the type of hay that you're feeding, that you have the right vitamins and minerals in that hay.
Okay, so the third and final question. We love you, Virginia. So glad you sent these in. There's talk around my barn that we should start feeding Solitude, a fly prevention control substance containing Seromazine that supposedly passes into the manure and kills the fly larva. Have you ever heard of it? I'm not thrilled about giving it to Edie, but 3 vets in the area support it. What do you think? And so she says there's talk around my barn. I couldn't help but think right off the bat of Charlotte's Web. All the animals chitter-chatting back and forth. And I sure do hope they give me some Seromazine. Get that platinum in there. Kill off the larva. So that's, I thought that was funny. But anyways, what would you say there around the talk that's happened around Virginia's barn?
Well, there are several products like that, and there's a lot of newer stuff that's coming out that's really good. Okay, fly predators out of California. The predator, fly predator, I can't think of the name of the company right now, used to be a sponsor, but it was it's good stuff, that fly predator, and a Seroma. But here's the thing, here's the problem. If everybody's not using it, it's not going to do any good. So therefore, let's say there's a neighboring farm. If they're not using some type of fly control, All you're going to do is have the flies come next door. Okay. So you're not going to completely get rid of flies. Put a fly mask on. Dave, what's the name of that stuff? And I always forget the name of that lady.
Espana.
Yeah,
Espana
Spania.
silk.
Yeah, that has been the best thing from what I've seen of putting on the animals to keep the flies off of them. Listen, flies is a natural thing. It ain't no big deal. Do like I do. When people, we used to laugh at them all the time. The kids and stuff around the barns, they'd be wearing shorts. Well, they'd be smacking flies all the time. Uncle Bud say, just put on some breeches, and then they'd be slapping them on their arms. Uncle Bud would say, just put on a long sleeve shirt. You ain't gonna stop them. It ain't gonna happen. So the best thing you can do is to look at getting a good mask on. Give them that information for that natural
The
way
Espana silk.
of natural way of taking care of flies and stuff, and it really works. And I tell you this, folks, I've used WD-40 for years, and I know a lot of people kind of laugh at it, but let me tell you, I used it on my mules for years, and it done a good job of the flies eating on these animals. But think about what you're feeding them. I think that'll help you out too.
If y'all want to check it out, you can go to EspanaProducts.com. You'll find all of they've got dog, cat, equine, and people products. And so you can go there, check it out. And Steve recommends. It's really good stuff. There's a lot of great information on there so you can know what it is you're using. But very few things will Steve, kind of wholeheartedly recommend. Mountain Ridge Gear is one place where we send folks because we recommend that. And Espana Products is another place where we'll send folks and recommend their stuff. So EspanaProducts.com. You can just search Espana Silk, and it should pop up at the top. Espana is Espana. Next question we got. This one comes from Jack. He watched one of our videos on YouTube about a month ago. Says, do mules hold grudges? Do they have a better memory than a horse? And we've talked about this from time to time, Steve. How can we help Jack out here? What can we tell him?
Don't listen to that old wives' tale, folks. One of the wives' tales is that mule will wait its whole life to kick you. No. To get even with you and to kick you. No. Folks, I have seen a mare or a gelding thrash a mule and knock him to the ground, biting him and kick him and everything. And that mule will follow them around like a puppy dog. Now, don't pay attention to that. That's just old wives' tales, old farmers' tales. You just treat the mule with respect, and the mule will give his life for you.
Next question. This one comes from Sarah. Says she's watching in from Colorado. Says, I have an abused mini mule for 7 months and I'm not making much progress. Any help?
Well, folks, I hear this all the time and time again. I have an abused. Well, they think because the mule isn't all fluffy and wanting to be petted, that he's been abused, or they think because they can't get something done, he's been abused. And that's not always it. Sometimes it's temperament, all right? Flat temperament. So you'd have to tell me what you're talking about as far as abuse goes. But headway, the best thing you can do, folks, is ground communication. It comes with the halter. It comes with a come-along rope. But most of all, it comes with a how-to video. Now, again, the halter is not important. You're going to see me coming up in this clinic. Dave and I are going to do a lot of videoing. You're going to see me use nothing but the come-along hitch, okay? And why is that? Because it teaches you to focus on the mule. It teaches you to see the details. And you're going to hear me say it, Dave, it's been a little slow getting people in on this clinic, but I realize the economy the way it is with the high prices of fuel and this war going on, this so-called epidemic, that things happen, I understand. But folks, you get a chance to come to this clinic. We got them coming from California, from Colorado, Arkansas, Texas, Arizona, coming from all over, okay? We still got some spots left, but make sure that you don't show up. If you show up, the gate's going to be closed. Come 15 minutes till 9. When we start this program, we're closing it and we ain't opening it. Now, you got to get that in your mind. Now, believe me, if you're running late, you can call my wife and go from there. But I have to start on time, and I need you to be there on time. But let's go back. Biggest thing I'm going to impress here, folks, is groundwork. Okay. If you can't throw the lead rope on the ground and brush them and pick up all four of the feet, why are you riding them? And that's just the short of it. So go back to this this mini mule. You know, a lot of times, you know what I call abuse, Dave? Using a nylon halter. What I call abuse is feeding them, overfeeding them incorrectly and putting them out in the pasture. Those are two of my abuses. Abuse, putting a horse bit in a mule's mouth. That to me is abuse, okay? So, but that's things that I see has a residual effect. But going back to this, groundwork, 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 watch the video, stay there.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so folks, the first Friday, Saturday, Sunday in April 2022, we've got the clinic up here at Queen Valley Mule Ranch. I'm going to put some information in the comment section for y'all to check it out, but you can go to muleranch.com and you'll see right there on the homepage, there's information about the clinic. We'd love to have you come out, spend a little bit of time with us, get to meet Steve. I'll be there. I'd love to meet you as well. And get some real information that will have a real impact on your real work with your animal. That would be just probably one of the very best things you could do if you are serious about making progress with your animal between now and the end of the year. So we'd love to have you. Sarah sent in a message asking a question about your saddle, Steve. She says, I read your product description, but I can't find my answers. What is the difference in construction between the Extreme Ultralight saddle and the Trail Rider saddle? I'm curious where the 8-pound difference comes from. Also, what is the difference between the Cowboy and the Trail Rider other than the padded seat? That's from Sarah. What would you say, Steve?
Well, number one, I always tell everybody, call me. I'd rather talk to you on the phone and give you your answers. Okay, so what is the difference? But every single saddle I have has the same tree, identical. Okay. Now, every single saddle is designed for that mule and it's designed for long distance riding. If the comfortable saddle is uncomfortable for you, nobody can fit a saddle to you and say, okay, now I got a saddle that's going to fit you. Impossible. What makes the difference? You wet it, which we're going to see at this clinic. You're going to wet it and ride, So you wet the back half of the jockey underneath the fenders and soapy water with a spray bottle, and then you ride. And that's how you shape the saddle to you. All right, now go back. Since they all have the same trees, why is the 8-pound difference? The number one thing is the type of leather. The type of leather, it's some leather we imported in from Argentina. It's very sturdy. It's nice and light. It's kind of like furniture leather, and it feels good. It rides good. That's the big difference right there. Okay. The other thing is, yes, between the Cowboy and the Trail Rider, it's basically just a padded seat. That's it. Okay, folks. When you're uncomfortable in the saddle, the biggest percentage of the time it is you, the way you're setting in the saddle. That's very important to understand.
Next question we've got. This one comes in from Mark, watching from Virginia. He says, I have a question for the expert. He's buttering you up there. I want to take my mules on a hunting trip out west this early fall. I'm familiar with the terrain, but have never taken them before. I would like to know what I should do to get them ready for this adventure, besides using them to get me into my desired hunting area. I will use them to pack out, hopefully. Should I be concerned about leaving them tied while on foot hunting? Can they take a 36-hour trip in a trailer? We ordinarily drive straight through, rotate drivers, and only stop for fuel, so I need to plan ahead on what's best for the mules. I appreciate your advice, and as always, very grateful for you sharing your experience, Mark from Virginia. Very cool question, Mark. Steve, what would you say?
I was just talking with Mark yesterday. Matter of fact, he's got a unique life going here. So here's the deal, Mark, and everybody else. The best thing you could do for your mule is start preparing today for your hunting next year. So don't just a month ahead of time start preparing them. No. You have to muscle them up. You have to prepare them physically and mentally to be able to go on this trip. It's very, very important. I've had my mules in the trailer and never took them out from Arizona to Montana. I have had them in the trailer for hours on end, and no problem. I've seen the Reese brothers take mules all the way from Tennessee to Bishop, California, a 40-hour trip, and never take them out. Okay, so it's going to depend upon you. Will they do fine? They'll do just fine. These new trailers today ride good. But folks, you start preparing. You're going to be going on a hunting trip like that. You start preparing them now. Start getting them used to a high line. Start getting them used to a foot rope. Start getting them used to all these sort of things. Don't just take them up there and say, okay, by golly mule, we're going to get it done. Start practicing now for that hunt. I start practicing when I'm hunting. I start getting my animals ready the day after I hunted that day and get ready for next year, preparing them physically and mentally. Now,
go ahead.
I want to add one more thing. It's very, very important that you make sure these animals drink water. The biggest problem with mules and donkeys, they're very suspicious of water. And so you want to take your water and start using electrolytes in it. You want to give them a tube of electrolytes before you put them in a trailer, and take anything over 6 hours, give them electrolytes. The biggest thing is dehydration. So when you stop, you can offer them water, but if they got electrolytes in them, they'll be looking for water. So make sure you get them electrolytes.
Steve, next question comes in from Juliana. She's got some really kind words, and then is asking about bits. She says, I'm going to be purchasing a whole setup for my very first saddle donkey from you, which is awesome. Love hearing that. You're doing right by your animal. But I noticed that your trail riding bit is out of stock. Do you have another recommendation for a bit, or do you know when you'll get more trail riding bits available? I currently don't have anything that I could use. So I figured this would be a good one to bring up, because what we have found, Juliana, and for everybody else watching, is that a lot of folks will go after the trail riding bit, but after a little bit of discussion with Steve, they're not quite ready for the trail riding bit. And we've got an alternative that is really better suited for where their animal's at. Steve, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, you bet. Okay. When you use the finished bit, that means you can ride 80% off your legs, 20% off your hands. That's the minimum. So in other words, with your donkey, with your mule, you can side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, things like this. All right. That's with the finished bit. That is with shanks with a port, where you normally would ride one-handed. The majority of the time, most of you need to ride in a mule rider's martingale. Why is that? You are not recognizing that the mule is sticking his nose out, getting a hold of the bit. You're not recognizing that the mule, your donkey, is elevating his head. You're not recognizing that all 5 major neck muscles are getting tight, and you're not recognizing that when you pull the donkey or the mule to the right or left, they're starting to learn to brace you. So that's what the mule rider's martingale does. The mule rider's martingale is a snaffle bit, which communicates the corner of the mouth, which communicates to the top of the tongue. And it's a very easygoing, very concise, very precise bit, and does a great job. It is not a permanent final fixture. It is for repairing a problem. It is for building a foundation. It is for going into a new area. For instance, I'm going in hunting. So if I'm going to go in hunting, I'm going to take my mule rider's martingale. Why is that? I have more control with my mule rider's martingale than I do anything else. Do I want it as a permanent basis? No, it's not meant that way. But if a bear comes down off the mountain, I want to be able to control my mule. And the best thing I know how to do that with is my mule rider's martingale. But before that, come along rope, come along rope, come along rope.
Awesome. Very good. Love that question. Love the opportunity to chat about it. Steve, I got a comment here from Hunter talking about buddy sour, which first, why don't you go ahead and just tell us real quick what buddy sour means?
Okay, buddy sour basically means that these mules are all of one mindset. Okay. They are a prey animal. They are not a predator. You and I are predators. We're predators. They're a prey animal. So they want to stay with their kind. They want to stay with where they feel comfortable. They will pick a leader out of the other animals, and they will follow that leader anywhere, everywhere. So here's what happens. We call it buddy sour because that mule wants to stay with that horse. Mules are very subservient to horses, and you're not going to change that. You can't train that into them, but you can ride it through. In other words, when that mule wants to go over to the horse, I make that horse uncomfortable. How? I bump with my spurs, I hit them with my bit when they're even thinking about wanting to be with that horse. Does it make it uncomfortable for them? Yes. It makes it more uncomfortable for you because you can't sit and relax or ride out. But it's part of life. You can't train it out, but you can spend time getting them to understand to listen to you.
Awesome. I actually thought there was a question, and then I went through and read a little bit more, and she was just making a comment about Buddy Sour and how they've experienced that. We've got a question here, or a comment from Harry. He says, I'm in West Tennessee. The weather is beautiful here today. That was a month ago, so let's see how it is today. My mule has given me a little trouble. Weather has been bad here, so no riding. She has come up behind me and knocked me down. Last time she reared up on my shoulder with her legs and pushed me down. How would you suggest I respond?
uh, my goodness. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to really pay attention to this because this mule is wanting to play with you. He considers you more of everybody like everybody else instead of a herd leader. So that mule is going to hurt you. So teach the mule its space. And you do that with the come along rope. You do that with the round pin, okay? And that ground communication kit would be the best thing. But this mule has no respect for you. He considers you to be a playful buddy. And when they start biting you or start kicking you to make you do things that they want them to do, you're going to be in real trouble. So fix it. Start with the come along rope. Folks, you cannot overdo your ground communication. Start there first and build a foundation. This is my space. This is your space. You back up when I tell you to do. You go forward. You be their leader.
Awesome. Next question. This one comes in from April. Says, hi, Steve. My name is April, and I have a 9-year-old John Mule. He's only 13 hands approximately. I got him from a second chance feedlot. He came from a ranch, and they said they roped him off. I think they roped him. I've had him approximately 2 years, and we still haven't been able to connect. I'm ready to sell him, but I don't want to just give up. He's horrible unless you have him on a stud chain. I've never done anything to him, but when I walk into the corral, he bolts. I'm stuck and need help. I don't want to sell him, but I'm 64 and I can't get hurt. Too many people count on me on a daily basis. What would you say to April, Steve?
Well, you're right, April. It don't cost you any more to take care of a good one than it does a bad one. And yes, if they've had a lot of bad experiences, it's going to be extremely time consuming. And at 64, you don't need to get hurt. Nobody needs to. So you might want to find the mule another home to be able to maybe somebody might be able to get along with the mule better, which is really important. Other than that, I can't express to you enough by come along work. Come along work builds a foundation. These mules, when they get passed on from person to person to person, they can have so many bad habits, it's unreal. And when you think about that, think about this, is that these mules learn from us and go from another person. Everybody wants a 12-year-old that's 14-year-old's been there, done that. Well, the problem is most of the time the been there, done that is all bad habits. And some of the little things are looking good, but other things are looking bad. So do yourself a favor. Find somebody that can get along with the mule. Find one that you like and go from there. Otherwise, get ready for a long haul. 6 months of ground communication kits where I would start.
So next question we got here, this one's from Paula. Says, I recently purchased your videos and I love them. Thank you, Paula. But I have a question. Has anyone ever used an Australian saddle on a mule? What is an Australian saddle? And then can you use it on a mule?
Okay. Yes, Australian saddles are built for. They're kind of like an English saddle in a way. It's very flat seated. Doesn't have a horn. Has big swells in it. Has only one cinch. So I can tell you that when I was in Australia 2 years ago, about the time the pandemic was kicking in, I was judging the National Mule and Donkey Show, and there was everybody in that Mule and Donkey Show was riding my saddles, except for two people. And at the end of the clinic, they were riding my saddles. So here's the deal: they don't work because they don't have a rear cinch. The tree is made for a horse; it's not made for a mule, and it sets incorrectly on the mule's back. You will find that the saddle will roll a lot. Biggest problem that people don't understand is you have to fit bone structure, not muscle mass. So, will the Australian saddle work? Answer is no.
We got a question that came in on YouTube from Simona. It says, "Hi, Steve and Dave. Missed you live this time, but I'll try and be on the next one. It's 11 p.m. at my place. We would love to have you live, Simona. What do you look at when a mule is not too fat or too skinny? How do you do BCS? Thank you." So I don't know what BCS is, but what do you look at when a mule is not too fat or too skinny?
I'm not sure what BCS is either, but number one, I like to see a little rib. Number two, looking from the back, I don't want to see the belly out beyond the hip on each side a lot. You're going to have it a little bit because that's the bone structure of a donkey. When I look from the front, I don't want to see great big sides on it. Some of these mules have been so overfed that they look like they're pregnant. But I'm not sure what BCS is, buddy. So look for a little bone and make sure you're feeding program.
Yeah, one note about the feeding program, y'all, if you have never looked at the article Mules Can't Stand Prosperity, I'll put a link in the comment section. Y'all check that out. It's an article. It talks about just the needs and the basic dietary starting point for your your mule or donkey's feed and nutrition program. There is a breakdown on minerals and ingredients that you will want to look for in a feed. You could print that off, take it into your feed shop, say, what do you have that's close to this? We highly recommend that you connect with a local extension center. Most universities have them, but you want to get a hair follicle sample. You want to get it analyzed so that you can see exactly where your mule is overly abundant or where they're deficient. So, what we will tell you is a good starting point, but you're going to want to make sure to know for certain what's happening inside their body. And then on top of that, you want to feed according to use. So if you're not going to be riding, if you're not going to be getting out there and doing working or packing, that's going to affect the amount that you feed. If you're going to be doing longer haul trips, that's going to affect the amount that you feed. And quite honestly, what your mule is going to need. Steve was talking earlier about, hey, if you're going to be doing these trips, you want to make sure to give them a tube of electrolytes. You want to make sure that they're well taken care of. So y'all can check out the Mules Can't Stand Prosperity article. And then on top of that, you can get the free mule talk or feed talk video that we've got, which is with Lake and Milling. And just a great discussion in real time about putting together a feed and nutrition program that works for your animal, that's going to be a really good starting point. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if we have any other questions. I think. Okay, here is one from Hannah. She says, "What type of English saddles can you get for a mule, Steve?"
There's no such thing as an English saddle that's going to fit a mule. Again, folks, your rear cinch is the most important one. Just look at these people out here that are riding English saddles. The saddle's sitting on top of the scapula. Oh, I'm riding English saddle. Okay, you're crippling your mule. Folks, it don't work. You've got to have a rear cinch. You've got to have a breeching, and an English saddle doesn't do it. So don't. If there was an English saddle that could be made, I would have already made it. It's not. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, haven't you tried to in the past, Steve? Haven't you
Oh yeah.
looked at ways to make that happen?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of my apprentices that want to ride at the world championships, and they want to demonstrate English. They want to demonstrate Western, they pleasure. They want to demonstrate cow working, so they can do it the all around. Here's the problem, you know, and put an English saddle on them. But yes, we paid the price because we crippled up the mule for maybe not just a few days, okay, but maybe longer. But yeah, we went through the show and we competed, but the mule ended up paying the price. Folks, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. I could care less about that 50% ribbon or the way I want to look in an English saddle. It don't work, folks. Think about your mule. Think about your donkey.
All right, folks, this is going to be our last question for the day. This one comes from Sam. Sam says, "Hi, Steve. Hope I'm not bothering you." I'll speak for Steve. You're not bothering him at all. Bring on the question, Sam. We're glad to help you. "I have a 4-year-old Mammoth donkey. I've had her since she was a baby. I've ground worked her, got some of your videos, but she keeps getting in my space. I kick her in the shins and she moves, but she always had a bubbling on me. Everybody says that's normal, but this time she had her ears back. She's not mean, but I don't want her thinking she can nibble on me. Is that just the way donkeys are? I ordered a surcingle and martingale from you. Wondered if you have any ideas. Easy to halter, no kick. Thank you so much for your help, Sam."
Well, it's not unusual for them to pin your ears. They're just basically saying, I don't like what you're doing. Okay, well, that's the way it is. The problem is, folks, when these mules and donkeys, especially donkeys with the big old long ears and their babies, they're really cute and cuddly. And what do? We turn them into fluffy and we hold them in close and we pet on them and scratch on them as if they're a dog or one of our kids. They're not. They need to understand their space. And right here's the perfect example of let them spend too much time coming into your space. They're never allowed to come into your space. Never, ever. Look, just because you've kicked them in the shin a couple of times and they've gotten back, if they keep coming back, wait a minute. They've already had 2.5 years of coming into your space, okay? And now you're starting to pay the price. So, folks, Fluffy is never allowed to come into your space. You can go to their shoulder. They are not to come to yours.
Well, there you go, folks. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. You're still watching here, and so we want to invite you to come to the Mule and Donkey Clinic happening first week, April 2022. If you're watching this into the future, hello from the past. We would love to have you join us on a future clinic. You can find everything you need to know at muleranch.com, everything about the past, everything about the future as it relates to mules and donkeys. Of course, we're not here predicting anything that's going to happen in the past or future outside of the mules and donkeys. But we've got a track record with those mules and donkeys, so we can do a pretty good job of telling you what's going on. Would love to have you come out, spend a little bit of time with us, get to know your animal a little bit more. Heck, get to know Steve Edwards a little bit more, and I know that Steve Edwards would enjoy getting to know you a little bit more. You can go to muleranch.com, get all the clinic info. Do not show up the day of the clinic without a ticket. We have everything planned ahead of time, and so we do you the courtesy of letting you know that you've got to have a ticket. Do us the courtesy and go get yours ahead of time. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done today?
No, it's a blessing. I'm glad we could do this and help out some folks, and I'll be looking forward to visiting with you in the future, Dave.
Absolutely. Okay, folks, take care. We will talk to you soon. God bless, and we will see you at Queen Valley Mule Ranch here in no time at all. Get your tickets. Come on out. Look at this face right here. Don't you want to see this face in real life? Yeah, I get. Look at both of these faces. Don't you want to see us? We'd love to see you. Take care, everyone.